Thanks for joining us. Dangerously hot and humid conditions are expected most of the week, and that's prompted heat warnings for much of the province. Parents at one school are worried what that could mean for kids in classrooms without air conditioning. Lane Harrison kicks off our coverage tonight.
St. Gregory Catholic School was designed for air conditioning, but it was never installed due to budget overruns, leaving the three-story building to mainly be cooled by windows, some of which only allow a few inches of breeze into the building, and students are feeling it.
It's hard to breathe, and my head starts to hurt, I feel nauseous, my stomach hurts, and I get rashes all over my body, and it's really scary, and I don't want anybody to go through that how I did.
According to a report presented to the Toronto Catholic District School Board in 2022, on a 25-degree day, temperatures on the third floor of the building reached 28 Celsius. Environment Canada has put out a heat warning for this week, with the humidity expected to hit the mid-40s.
I believe that we will take her out of school and find alternate solutions for the heat wave, but that shouldn't be up to parents to do. We expect our children to be in a safe environment.
In a statement, the board says schools have cooling areas for hot days. It says the province doesn't give it enough money to retrofit buildings with AC, but it says it has asked the Ministry of Education to allow it to spend its own money on new schools with air conditioning. The ministry did not respond to CBC's request for comment on this story.
You've certainly identified an issue that goes on and on and on without resolution.
Last week, parents pleaded with school board trustees for change, but were told their hands are tied.
It's difficult for a trustee to tell you why you can't do things because we don't believe in why you can't do things. We believe we should be doing those things. We rely on the ministry.
As the school board and province hash it out, parents have a simple request.
We send them healthy, we want them to come home healthy, and we want that for all the kids at the school. There's kids with underlying health conditions where this makes things, extreme heat makes it worse for them. And really, we just want to send our kids to school and not worry about them.
The board is pledging to do better. It says it's initiated an analysis of classroom conditions across the system, but with an expected heat wave and the upcoming summer vacation, it's unclear how soon students might feel relief. Lane Harrison, CBC News, Toronto.
Sophia joining us now. You've been tracking this heat that's on the way, warning us, yes, it's going to be potentially dangerous, potentially deadly as well.
To put it frank, Shannon, the next few days in Ontario could be some of the hottest we have ever felt. Now, Humidex is a measure of how we feel in a certain environment. It's core temperature coupled with how much moisture is in the atmosphere. It's our ability or inability to cool ourselves. Picture being in almost a bubble. When there's intense moisture in the atmosphere, your body can't have sweat that evaporates. Now, for the next few days, we will have core temperatures that are anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees above normal. So picture the mid-30s, and then add on to that intense, soupy moisture in the atmosphere. We are expecting the potential of all-time Humidex records to fall by the wayside. And yes, that means the next few days could feel like the hottest we have ever felt in Ontario. Now, anyone can succumb to excessive warmth. Know the signs of heat stroke and heat exhaustion. They are fairly different, especially checking on those most vulnerable. What are the players at play here, the ingredients in this soupy mixture? We have a heat dome at play. It's basically high pressure in the upper levels of the atmosphere, acting like a dome. Picture the lid on a pot on the stove, trapping heat and promoting this kind of heat wave. This time, what's going on is this heat dome is circulating in a clockwise motion, bringing with it intense Gulf moisture that will be filtering in above us for this long duration heat event. Core temperatures in the mid-30s, feels like values into the mid-40s for a 5 to 7 day period, along with overnight lows that are really the big problem here. Overnight lows that are where our daytime highs should normally be, not letting our bodies recalibrate and cool down, all the way from southwestern Ontario up to eastern Ontario and even around the GTA. The one saving grace here is that anywhere near a lakeshore may feel a few degrees cooler. There will also be A multiple-day chance of thunderstorms along with this intense moisture could come torrential downpours, localized flooding, and scattered storms that, yes, could cool things down for a short amount of time, but also add to the active weather. Here's a look at the heat warnings that I expect to continue to expand over the coming days. We'll tell you about more of the signs and symptoms to look forward to in the long range to keep everybody safe and healthy at home. Shannon.
Okay, quite the system. We'll check in with you shortly.
Sounds good.
For those getting their boats ready for summer, some critical safety reminders from police.
Share the waterways, know the body of water that you're going to be putting your boat in, check the weather, and have a good communication device. Let people know where you're going. We're always here 24/7. You can hail us over if you have any questions out there, and we're happy to assist you.
Marine units are asking people to look over the rules before they set sail. That includes knowing the speed limits, required licenses, and restricted zones. Police also reminding everyone, despite the heat, the water can remain cold all season long. Plus, life jackets are strongly recommended to keep everyone on board safe. Toronto police have identified the 16-year-old boy killed in a shooting in Scarborough this weekend. It happened near Finch and Birchmount just before 2 Saturday. A fight broke out between two suspects and the victim, which ended in gunfire. Police call it a brazen daylight shooting. 16-year-old Kaylin Ryder Downey is Toronto's 37th homicide victim of the year. Now, the two suspects are still on the loose. Police are urging anyone with information to contact them or Crime Stoppers. A man was badly injured after another man fell from the Leaside Bridge onto a vehicle driving along the DVP, forcing some of the busy stretch to be shut down for hours. Police and paramedics arrived just before noon. According to police, a man who did not fall from the bridge was taken to hospital with critical injuries. The northbound lanes of the DVP at Pottery Road were closed for 4 hours this afternoon, but have since reopened. 1 week after that massive fire tore through a Toronto church, destroying the building and rare art inside, people were back this morning for service. Ryan Patrick Jones takes us there.
Their historic church building may be in ruins, but that didn't stop these parishioners from coming together for Sunday Mass. They sat in office and lawn chairs instead of pews. A folding table became an altar. Using donated hymn books because the churches burned in the fire, this parking lot turned into a house of God.
Church is people, not building. It was very important for me to come and stand with the congregation and just experience the first step of the rebirth.
I know it was going to be hard, but when the sun came out, it just felt holy in a whole other way, and I was just grateful to be here.
Last Sunday, a 4-alarm fire engulfed the century-old church building, completely gutting the inside and the spectacular Byzantine dome roof. Stained glass windows and massive murals painted by members of Canada's famed Group of Seven are now lost.
The days immediately following the fire, I prayed. How do we pray in times such as these? We do because the love of Christ compels us.
In his sermon, Reverend Don Byers acknowledged the grief among those in his flock, but he also brought a message of hope.
I am convinced, and I will live for this, and I will die for this message, that the resurrection breathes life into all things, and that Christ tells us that the church will thrive no matter what building or structure we have.
This couple has attended the church since they arrived in Canada 18 years ago.
Our heart is broken.
What is your hope for the future of the church?
More people come together and believe that church will rebuild and praise the Lord in the church.
While the cause of the fire isn't yet known, Toronto police have said it's not considered suspicious. The Office of the Fire Marshal continues to investigate, but as you heard earlier, the parishioners I spoke to are hoping to rebuild, and they're asking the community to chip in so that a new church can be constructed on the ashes of the old one. Ryan Patrick Jones, CBC News, Toronto.
LCBO workers voted overwhelmingly in favor of a strike, with 97% of more than 8,000 voting members casting ballots in favor of job action.
We are more than yardsticks apart. The employer has come to the table unwilling to be reasonable. They're looking for efficiencies and flexibility. And at this current time, in the crisis that we're in, we are very, very far apart.
The employees are represented by the Ontario Public Service Employees Union, or OPSEU. The union says the bargaining team will return to the table this week. It delivered a notice to bargain in January before the LCBO's contract expired March 31st. They say they'll give an update on bargaining and a strike timeline Monday night. Another effort today by the federal government to curb auto theft.
Mobile X-ray scanner is being deployed here in the Greater Toronto area to help the Canadian Border Services Agency examine export containers for stolen vehicles.
As the minister said, this X-ray scanner is being deployed across the GTA to help intercept stolen vehicles in shipping containers that are destined for the ports of Montreal and Quebec. The announcement comes after a national summit tackling the issue back in February. So far this year, Canada's Border Service Agency has caught more than 1,000 stolen cars and trucks in rail yards and ports, with 452 vehicles seized in the GTA. At an international peace summit, Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs said what his country urgently needs now is weapons. 18 months ago, Canada promised to deliver an air defense system, but it's yet to arrive. Ashley Burke is in Switzerland covering the summit for us.
At this peace summit, the Prime Minister spoke out.
Are you saying Russia's committing genocide in Ukraine?
That is certainly one of the things that has been talked about.
Justin Trudeau said Russia must be held accountable for taking 20,000 Ukrainian children from their home.
Everyone can agree that taking kids away from their families, trying to erase their language, their culture, that's an element of genocide. That's pure colonialism.
Those comments at a conference where more than 90 world leaders, representatives, and organizations descended on a Swiss resort to hash out how to end the war.
Moving to peace means acting fast.
Ukraine's president wants more diplomatic buy-in to his peace plan. It demands Moscow withdraw all of its troops. But Russia's President Vladimir Putin says he will only end the war if Ukraine surrenders territory, an ultimatum Ukraine rejected. Russia was not invited to these talks.
Russian aggression has to stop.
Canada announced a new $52 million package for Ukraine, including to help displaced children, replace damaged energy equipment, and help rebuild.
We are responding to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, not only with a full-scale defense of human life, but also with full-scale diplomacy.
Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs said what his country urgently needs is weapons and air defense. Canada promised an air defense system a year and a half ago that's yet to arrive.
Of course, we wish this system was already in Ukraine, because we are in a situation when every piece of air defense matters. It's an issue of death and life.
The summit came up with priorities to move forward on, including nuclear safety, food security, and called for all prisoners of war and displaced children to be returned to Ukraine. But with Russia absent at the table, there were no major advancements towards peace talks with Moscow. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Bergenstock, Switzerland.
A dispute erupted today within Israeli leadership over a proposed daily pause in military action to allow aid into Gaza. The army announcing the plan, saying it would be implemented immediately along one main road. Hours later, Israel's prime minister reportedly indicated the plan was unacceptable. One hardline minister said whoever was behind it should be fired. Also today, the government extended accommodation funding for southern Israelis who have evacuated, suggesting prolonged fighting is expected. There was concern at the Euro 2024 soccer tournament in Germany today when a man threatened police near one of the events. Police say the man also attempted to ignite a Molotov cocktail. They say they responded with pepper spray and fired shots. It happened on a main street next to a parade by fans of the Dutch team. The man is receiving medical care for his injuries. Police say his condition is not life-threatening. Turning to Calgary next, where the race continues to get the water flowing. Residents have been cutting back ever since that catastrophic water main break earlier this month. As Aaron Collins shows us tonight, there is some good news.
A wet weekend in Calgary, good for the grass, but the city's pools far from full. A casualty of lingering water restrictions in the city. Limits put in place after a major water main broke more than 10 days ago. It was initially thought that the pipe would be fixed this week. That changed when 5 more areas needing repairs were discovered.
Repairing the damaged sections remains our top priority. Initial inspections and site prep work are already underway, and construction on those hot spots will start tomorrow.
Those new repairs on hold while parts and equipment are moved in.
Along with parts from cities across North America, the city of San Diego was able to send us a length of pipe we need to make these critical repairs. And with that, they sent a message of hope.
But once started, the fix could take more than a month. In the meantime, the city declared a state of local emergency over the weekend to help it deal with the break. And until the work is done, watering lawns is out. Calls for shorter showers and limiting laundry and dishwashing remain in.
I've cut down my shower times, not too many dishes, maybe 3 days, every 4 days, do the laundry, yeah.
The biggest thing, honestly, is we don't have it that bad. There's a lot of other people in a lot worse position than us.
We have to do everything we can as Calgarians to try to, maintain this low usage of water.
Some Calgarians taking advantage of the soggy weekend, sharing their water conservation efforts online. And so far, it seems to be working. Saturday saw water use at its lowest level since limits were introduced. The mayor hoping that number could dip even lower this Father's Day.
Today you get a pass. No need to shower, no need to shave. We're just going to call it come as you are. It's dad style all day.
Jokes aside, that call to use less water is critical, needed to keep emergency services like firefighting up and running. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
Ottawa's food bank surpassed a one-day donation record earlier this weekend, and it's all thanks to students.
No kid should go hungry and go to bed hungry and wake up hungry, and no parent should wonder what to make for them and their family every day.
Yeah, he said it. Kids from 6 different schools within the Ottawa Carleton District School Board donated nearly 95 tons of food. The drop-off event Saturday saw a fleet of tractor trailers arriving at the Ottawa Food Bank warehouse. Volunteers, including students, unloading the food there. The food bank plans on giving some of the collected donations to the Ottawa Community Housing Foundation. We are heading into a short break. We'll be right back with Sophia and more on the heat on the way. The Blue Jays hosting the Cleveland Guardians today, but before the action, a special moment just for the dads of the team.
A lot of them have their families, have their kids in town, and a lot of those kids were out of the field throwing first pitches to their dads.
Probably something most of them have done before, but maybe not with thousands of fans cheering them on at Rogers Centre. The team celebrating Father's Day with a game of catch, with dads giving their kids the honorary first pitch. Even more reason to celebrate. The Jays won. Fans say it was the perfect way to cap off the day.
We went to the Blue Jay game and then we celebrated at Jack Astor's for Father's Day.
A backyard barbecue or just spending the time together. That's the important thing for us.
Yeah, we ran the bases.
3 generations ran the bases.
Just
1,
visiting
2,
from
and 3.
Saskatchewan, went out and ran the bases today. It's a great game. My favorite memory would probably be today, being able to spend it with my dad, my daughters, and my son, my newborn daughter. The Jays game, having a good time, watching them win, and then running the bases.
was also my son's birthday, so we were down here with about 22 of us for the games.
A first for everything. First time riding a Go train, first time coming to the Rotters, first time coming to a baseball game. And it's good to be out with friends and family, enjoying Father's Day with my son. And it's just a great, wonderful day.
Happy Father's Day!
So glad people got to enjoy today, Sophia, because what's on the way, this heat dome you're tracking, you're saying it could be the hottest we've ever felt?
Yeah, if we have some June Humidex records that fall by the wayside, that would mean it was the hottest that we've ever felt, and it could happen in a few localities around the province. Glad you enjoyed a pleasant Father's Day. As we mentioned, the heat really gets cranked up for Monday. Heat warnings in place. I expect them to continue to expand towards the east. It will be cooler for those of you in northwestern Ontario, where it was quite active. Earlier, we were tracking a tornado north of Thunder Bay. Separate system that's coming from the prairies. Let's look at Monday and track this heat over the next few days. Monday actually will probably be the cooler of the next 3 to 4 days if you consider the high 30s cool. The 40s are creeping up with those feels like values into southwestern Ontario. Here's a look at Tuesday. Look at that, 42 in Timmins, 44 in Ottawa for Tuesday. As we zoom in further into southern Ontario, watch areas inland away from the lakes like Barrie and Ottawa as those Humidex values continue to creep up. This is the territory where we could beat some of those June all-time Humidex records, again making it feel warmer than it ever has before. Areas like Kingston, though, a little bit warmer, or a little bit cooler rather, over the next few days, getting that lake influence and being some of our cool zones. How does this streak stack up against some of the other memorable hot streaks that we've had over the past decades? 12 days in the 50s. We've had 9 days of similar heat in 2020, 7 similar days of this kind of heat in 2018. Now, I don't think we will beat the all-time yearly Humidex record, which is at 50.3, but some of these June Humidex records could be shattered, like in Toronto, maybe in Ottawa, and around some of the areas in parts of southwestern Ontario. We will watch for that, along with heat records to be shattered as well. Regardless, the Humidex values will be at the top end of our spectrum when it comes to some of these strong and near dangerous effects. Over the next few days, that high dew point, that moisture in the atmosphere, will also be fueling thunderstorms. Watch for this risk for Monday, especially in southwestern Ontario and in parts of northeastern Ontario. When does this finally clear? Next weekend feels like values of the 30s will feel like a breath of fresh air, Shannon.
Okay, thanks so much, Sophia. Good advice. Stay hydrated, stay safe, and we'll see you again soon.